Hey everyone, I'm Sam, in case you don't know me. Most of you probably do. I decided to start a YouTube channel to talk about updates to my cube and why I am doing them. This will be the Guilds of Ravnica edition. Now, not all the cards will be from Guilds of Ravnica. There'll be some old cards coming in. In fact, this time there's a lot of old cards coming in that I just wanted to change up and do something different with the cube. So I guess we'll dive right in. The first card is called Healer's Hawk. It is a 1/1 flyer for white with lifelink. I've always liked the idea of 1/1 flyers for one. They just never were quite good enough to put in the cube, but now that this one has lifelink, I think it just puts it over the edge just a little bit, enough to be a good playable card for cube. Mission Briefing. Now, this is a card that a lot of people compared to Snapcaster Mage for good reason. But I just didn't feel it was a great card. Like, I don't expect it to be a huge performer in Legacy or Modern, like Snapcaster is, especially because it costs double blue. Guess I'll read the card to you a while. It is an instant for double blue. It says Surveil 2, and to Surveil, you look at the top two cards of your library, and you can put any number of them in the graveyard, then put the rest back on top in any order. Then you choose an instant or sorcery from your graveyard, and you may cast that card this turn. If that card would be put in your graveyard, put it in exile instead. I think it'll be a fun card for cube. I just don't see it being super competitive. But we'll put it in, give it a try, see how people like it. If everybody hates it, we'll take it out. So now we'll get into the black cards. Black is getting a huge makeover this time. I added in a theme of sacrificing creatures, which bleeds a little bit into red and a little bit into green, but it's predominantly in black. And there are already some elements in the cube that can make this possible, but I added in a lot more things to hopefully make for a fun deck at some point. The first edition is Becerra Seer, which costs a single black for a 1/1. You sacrifice a creature and can scry 1 at any time you want. Seems kind of nice, especially if you get something repetitive like Bloodghast that just keeps coming back. The next card I put in was Blood Artist. It's a 0/1 for 1 and a black, and whenever Blood Artist or another creature is put in, or it dies, put in the graveyard, target player loses 1 life and you gain 1 life. So there'll be another card similar to that I'm also putting in, but that also plays into the sacrifice theme, as does Bloodthrone Vampire. So Bloodthrone Vampire is a 1/1 for 1 and a black, where you can sacrifice a creature, and Bloodthrone Vampire gets +2/+2 until end of turn. Now, when I was looking for cards like this, I found out there are about 4 different versions of the 3-drop, where it's a 2/2 for 2 and a black that can give +2/+2 when you sacrifice a creature. As much as I wanted to put some more of those type of cards in, I'm already adding so much into black that I felt I would just put the cheapest one in, which is the Bloodthrone Vampire. Gatekeeper of Malakir. Yeah, that one's coming back. Gatekeeper is a 2/2 for double black. It has a kicker of black. So for all you mono black fans, you got a new toy. When Gatekeeper of Malakir enters the battlefield, if it was kicked, target player sacrifices a creature. So works well with your Blood Artist. Then we have another returning mono black card called Giraffes Messenger. It costs triple black for a 3/2. Enters the battlefield tapped. When it enters the battlefield, target opponent loses 2 life, and it has Undying, and a mechanic I always liked. I always liked this card. I'd cut it, I don't know how long ago. I cut it from the cube a couple years ago, just because the triple black was kind of heavy. But I decided to bring it back because I really like the card, and mono black is a lot of fun if you can pull it off. Next we got Midnight Reaper. So this is a new card from Guilds of Ravnica. It costs 2 and a black. It's a 3/2 creature, Zombie Knight. Whenever a non-token creature you control dies, Midnight Reaper deals 1 damage to you and you draw a card. With the sacrifice theme I've got going on, for self-sacrifice stuff, I thought that would be a nice little perk to have. Then we have Plague Crafter, another new card. It is a 3/2 for 2 and a black. When Plague Crafter enters the battlefield, each player sacrifices a creature or planeswalker. Each player who can't discards a card. So this card is an obvious upgrade from some previous versions or 2 other cards that were similar to this, that each player just sacked a creature. And they were 3/1s for 3. So this is clearly a nice little upgrade, so I'm excited to play that one. We got Falcon Wrath Noble coming in. Much like Blood Artist, this one has an ability a triggered ability, whenever Falcon Wrath Noble or another creature dies, target player loses 1 life and you gain 1 life. It is a 2/2 flyer for 4, 3 and a black. So obviously plays into the theme I'm putting into the cube. Continuing with that theme, we have Custody Lich. It's a 4/2 for 3 and double black. When it enters the battlefield, you become the monarch. If you don't remember this conspiracy mechanic, whenever you are the monarch, at end of turn, you get to draw a card. And then if someone deals combat damage to you, then they become the monarch. Then, whenever you become a monarch, target player sacrifices a creature. So, another nice solid card to help, that black theme of sacrificing. Doom Whisperer. Now this was a card I thought was really cool right out the gate. Obviously, everybody else thought so because its price has been going up and up. Doom Whisperer costs 3 and double black. It's a Nightmare Demon with flying and trample. It's a 6/6. You may pay 2 life and draw 2 cards. Pay 2 life and surveil 2, not draw 2. That would be ridiculous. 6/6 flying trample for 5. That's already pretty good. Throw in at will. You can look at top cards of your library and get rid of some. That seems pretty good. So that was going in. Then we got one more black card that is an old card that I've always thought about putting in, and when I started moving into the sacrifice theme, I was like, you know what, this really needs to go in. That card is Innocent Blood. It costs a single black. It's a sorcery. Each player sacrifices a creature. So that's the last black card going into the cube out of a lot. So we'll move on to red. I'm putting in a card I wanted to put in before and just didn't do it when it released. I don't know why. I guess I was a little hesitant about it, but I decided I really like it. It got banned in standard, so it's probably all right. It's probably pretty good. But that is Rampaging Prasad for 2 and a red. It's a 3/3 with Menace. That players cannot gain life, And whenever another creature enters the battlefield, it deals 1 damage to that creature's controller. So I thought that would be just a nice little spicy red card to add to the cube. Then I added in, or a returning card, Act of Treason. Most of you know what it does, but I'll read it anyway. It's a sorcery for 2 and a red. Gain control of target creature till end of turn. Untap that creature. It gains haste until end of turn. So with the black sacrifice theme, especially the self-sacrifice stuff, I was like, well, Act of Treason, stealing somebody's card and then sacrificing it to benefit yourself seems pretty good. So we're putting that back in the cube. A new card from Guilds of Ravnica is Risk Factor. Now, Risk Factor I liked a lot because it's very reminiscent of Browbeat, which is another card I always liked. This one is an instant that costs 2 and a red. Target opponent may have Risk Factor deal 4 damage to them. If that player does not, you draw 3 cards. Now, 4 damage versus 5 from Browbeat, but it's an instant, and it has an additional ability called Jumpstart, where you can cast this card from your graveyard by discarding a card in addition to paying its other costs and then exiling it. So being able to do it twice off of 1 card, that seems pretty good. So we're going to give Risk Factor a try. I think it's going to be a good one. Another returning card, Stagger Shock. I am not sure why I cut this when I did, but it's coming back in. So it's 2 and a red, instant, deals 2 damage to target creature or player, rebound. You get to do it again on your next upkeep. Just like Act of Treason, Threaten is coming back for the same reasons. I'm not going to go over that. Now, a card that has never been in the cube, but it's an old card. And I thought that with some of the sacrifice stuff bleeding into green a little bit, that maybe it was time for this to come in. Which is Veteran Explorer. Costs 1 for a 1/1. When it dies, each player may search the library for up to 2 basic land cards and put them on the battlefield. Then each player who searches must shuffle the library. So, good card. Gets played in some Legacy a little bit. Just got a shiny new foil. So, it's going in. Next we got a card that's never been in the cube. Well, it may have been in the cube a long time ago, now that I think about it. It's one I always liked, called Heartwood Storyteller. Heartwood Storyteller is a 2/3 for 1 and double green. When a player plays a non-creature spell, each of that player's opponents may draw a card. I just always liked the idea of just playing an all-creature deck. In fact, there's a conspiracy in the cube that encourages playing all creatures and reduces the cost of creature spells. I really liked it, and with a new card from Guilds of Ravnica that I'll be talking about shortly here, I thought it really would be pretty cool and give yourself a lot of card advantage. So that new card from Guilds of Ravnica is called Beast Whisperer. Beast Whisperer is a 2/3 for 2 and double green, Elf Druid. Whenever you cast a creature spell, draw a card. That's right, it's Glimpse of Nature on legs. Had it been cost 3 mana instead of 4, it would have been pretty broken with Allurin. But it's 4 mana, has a very nice triggered ability, and I think it'll be fun for people who like playing lots of creatures. Next, we have Carnage Tyrant. This was a card I overlooked when it came out, which was in Exelon. But it is a 7/6 for 4 and a double green that can't be countered, and it has trample and hexproof. Trample and hexproof on a big creature seems pretty darn good. So we're putting that in the queue because I just felt like green lacked some big stompy creatures. So it's going in. All right. Next we have another card that should have been in the cube a long time ago. Rampant Growth. Costs 1 and a green. Search your library for a basic land, put it on the battlefield tapped, then shuffle your library. This was a card that I never put in because I always liked like Kadama's Reach and Cultivate and Harrow. And recently I just kind of thought, I was like, 3 of those ramp spells at 3 mana and none at 2 just didn't feel right. So I cut Harrow so I could make room for Rampant Growth. So I think, and I found a lot of times, like, I know Cultivate and Kadama's Reach are really good, but I found a lot of the times they would end up in my sideboard. And I just feel like I would play a Rampant Growth more often. So it's going in. Next up, we have, we get to multicolored cards. So, my friend Jason will be very, very happy about this. But Teferi, Hero of Dominaria, is going in. Teferi costs 3 and white and blue. It starts with 4 loyalty. +1, draw card. At the beginning of the next end step, untap 2 lands. This was a recently errated to, I think, up to 2 lands. Because I didn't want, for some reason, to be forced to untap your opponent's lands. Unfortunately, they did not catch that in time before they started printing the Masters Edition versions, which was kind of disappointing, but it is what it is. -3, put target non-land permanent into its owner's library, 3rd from the top. And then -8, you get an emblem with whenever you draw a card, exile target permanent and opponent controls. So, hope you're happy, Jason. Teferi's going in. In fact, I actually cut 2 cards from every color to make room for 1 card of every 2 colors. If that makes sense. For every guild, I added a card. So made some tough choices to cut some stuff out, but I think it'll be worth it, especially with being in Ravnica and lots of new multicolored cards flying around. I wanted to have room for that. So some of these cards I added in this time might get cut soon, just because obviously we only have the first half of the guilds. We'll get the next half in Ravnica Alliance. Is that what it's called? The next set? In the winter. So some of these might be just kind of temporary placeholders. You'll probably figure out which ones. Blue-black. I added in a card that people have been asking for a long time. Shiok Nightmare Weaver. Costs 1, blue-black. It starts with 3 loyalty, +2, exile top 3 cards of target opponent's library. -X, put a creature card with converted mana cost X, exile with Shiok onto the battlefield under your control. That creature is a nightmare in addition to its other types. And then -10, exile all cards from all opponents' hands and graveyards. So yeah, it was just a card that everybody liked, and I guess some more controlling decks that have more long-term plans would appreciate playing. So it is going in the blue-black spot. Now, we have a returning card. I originally had taken out because it was possible to make an infinite combo with, and I have tried to make it hard to do infinite combos in my cube, because personally I kind of think they're boring to play against. But I think it's difficult enough to abuse this card. I think you have to be in like 4 colors to abuse it with an infinite combo. So it's coming back, and that card is Murderous Red Cap for 2 hybrid red blacks. It's a 2/2. When it enters the battlefield, deals damage equal to its power to any target. And it has persist. So with the sacrifice theme being in black and a little bit in red, I decided it was time for it to come back and let some people have some fun with it. Another old card that used to be in the cube, got cut, and I just decided I wanted it back in, is Blightning. Blightning is a sorcery that costs 1 black and red. It deals 3 damage to target player or planeswalker. And then that player's or planeswalker's controller discards 2 cards. I've always liked it. Everybody's always liked it, I think. Unless you get it played against you, maybe. But it's coming back. So have fun with that one. Let's see. Okay, here's a card that is kind of a placeholder. Gruul War Chant. I always like the card, but I'm really hoping something will come out in the next set that will kick it out and be awesome. This is an enchantment. It costs 2 red and green. Attacking creatures you control get +1/+0 and have menace. Pretty straightforward, aggro-y, good. But it'll be in for a little bit. New card from the new set is Knight of Autumn. A lot of people were really excited about this card. Costs 1 green and white. It's a creature. It's a 2/1. Has lots of choices. When it enters the battlefield, you get to choose one. Put 2 1/1 counters on Knight of Autumn, making it a 4/3, not for 3, not bad. Or you can destroy a target artifact or enchantment. Or you can gain 4 life. So a very appealing card to play. Just cards with lots of options are always nice. Next we have another returning card, Unflinching Courage. For a while I took out a lot of auras because it always feels bad to get 2 for 1. But recently I've decided, you know what, some auras are just worth it. Even if you get 1 hit with it, it can be worth it. So Unflinching Courage is one of those. Costs 1 green and white. Enchant creature. Enchant creature gets +2/+2, has trample and lifelink. Yeah, I mean, I miss playing with it. Obviously, Armadillo Cloak is the exact same thing, minus a technicality around lifelink, which is why I went for Unflinching Courage, just because of the it actually is lifelink exactly. Maybe if I find room down the road, I'd put in Armadillo Cloak too, but for now we just get Unflinching Courage. Next up, very similar vein, Gift of Orzhova. It is a aura that costs 1 and hybrid white-black, and enchant creature gets +1/+1, has flying and lifelink. It's been in the cube before, took it out for the same reason it took out Unflinching Courage, putting it back in for the same reason, plus it has really sweet art. Next is a charm. I I think it was in before. I don't remember why I cut it, but options are always nice. Choose one. It's an instant. Cost blue and a red. Choose one. Target, counter target non-creature spell unless its controller pays 2. Or is it charm deals 2 damage to target creature? Or draw 2 cards and discard 2 cards. Lots of options, always nice. Assassin's Trophy. Terrible card, nobody's going to play it. Next, Vraska, Golgari Queen. I almost didn't put this in. I almost put in Underrealm Lich, which I thought was a cool card. But then I read Vraska again, and I was like, you know what, this kind of plays into the theme I'm doing, and it might be better than I think, so we're going to give it a try. But she costs 2 black and green, 4 loyalty, plus 2. You may sacrifice another permanent. If you do, you gain 1 life and draw a card. -3, destroy target non-land permanent with converted mana cost 3 or less. So they put Abrupt Decay. -9, you get an emblem with whenever a creature you control deals combat damage to a player, that player loses the game. Seems like it could end the game pretty quickly if you get there. So, I think it might be better than I think. We're going to play with it and find out. Alright, next card. So I was really hoping for a good red-white creature in Guilds of Ravnica, and I don't feel like I got it. So instead I put in a split card. The split card has actually 2 abilities that I've always liked and just never made room for in the cube, or if I did, I'd cut it to make room for something else. So I felt like, you know, both of these are on 1 card now. This might be nice. The card is Response and Resurgence. Response costs hybrid red-white. It's an instant. Deals 5 damage to target attacking or blocking creature. Previously, I'd had Gideon's Reproach in the cube, which dealt 4 damage to target attacking or blocking a creature for 1 and a white. I always liked it, especially with Soulfire Grandmaster giving lifelink to your burn spells. I thought that was always cool because it was a white burn spell. But anyways, so now I have it again with response half of Response Resurgence, and it deals a little extra. Then Resurgence is a sorcery for 3 red and white. Creatures you control gain first strike and vigilance until end of turn. After this phase, there is an additional combat phase followed by, after this, there is an additional combat phase followed by an additional main phase. Basically, it's a relentless assault, and for an extra white, you get first strike and vigilance, which I thought was pretty sweet. So, yeah, I know it's not like a super big flashy card, but I think it'll be a pretty solid choice if you're in red-white. Next, another old card coming back. Maybe it'll get kicked out again when we get Simic cards, but I always liked this card, so it came back at least for a little bit. Edgars Spymaster of Trest, 1 green and a blue, 2/2. And whenever a creature deals combat damage to one of your opponents, its controller may draw a card. I always liked it. It's going in for now. Alright, got a couple more cards left. We're on to artifacts. There is 1 going in. It probably should have been in a long time ago. I waited till it rotated out, thinking maybe the price would drop. It didn't. So, yeah, Walking Ballista is going in. So, Walking Ballista is a 0/0 for double X. Enters the battlefield with X +1/+1 counters on it. You can pay 4 mana to put a +1/+1 counter on Walking Ballista. You may remove a +1/+1 counter from Walking Ballista, and it deals 1 damage to any target. Probably should have been in a long time ago. Here it is now. Last card. All right, this card is not super impressive, but I wanted to try it out because when I saw it first, when Dominaria came out, I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. And it doesn't come in tapped, so, it's just a colorless land. Zalfarian Void. And its battlefield, you scry 1. Taps for colorless. Not crazy, but interesting, I think. Might be useful. We'll find out. Early game it's good. You look for lands. Late game it's good. You get rid of lands. So, whatever. We're going to try it. It's in the cube now. So, so that kind of wraps up the update. I forget how many cards are. Things like 30-some cards are going in this time. Pretty big update. Biggest one in several years for sure. So anyway, hope you enjoyed my first attempt at making a video for cube updates. And I hope to see you guys on Saturday nights. See you soon.